Hey guys, what it do? It's your boy Supreme Uchiha the God, and now listen. Today we're talking about Itachi Uchiha. Since we're talking about, we talked about Sasuke, we're gonna talk about Itachi, and then maybe next we're gonna talk about Naruto. I think I'm just gonna go through like a bunch of Naruto characters, and then I'm gonna switch series, and I think that's what I'm gonna start doing, focusing on one series per like week or something, and then switch and switch and switch from then. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So Itachi Uchiha stands as one of the most complex figures in Naruto, embodying both the relentless pursuit of peace and the profound tragedy that comes with sacrifice. You see, his role in the series transcends the boundaries of a mere villain, right, or heroism, right? His decisions stem from a mix of loyalty, trauma, and the overwhelming weight of duty. To truly understand Itachi's emotional and mental state during the Uchiha massacre and his decision to spare only his brother, one must delve into the depths of his suffering and the constant consequences of his choices. See, from a young age, Itachi was a prodigy, right? One of the highest rated prodigies of all time. A shinobi burdened by his extraordinary talent and insight. As he matured, he became acutely aware of the political turmoil between the Uchiha clan and Konoha. When he was working with Kakashi, even, remember, Kakashi looked at him and thought he was a bit too cold. Like, he was too good at his job at such an early age. And Kakashi was a cold monster himself at some point as well. So it was a very intriguing dynamic to see that two people that were disillusioned, but in completely different ways and for different reasons. Now, attention. There was a tension in Konoha, right? A fragile tension that threatened to the fragile peace of the village. Itachi, already disillusioned by the horrors of war, saw this conflict not as a battle of pride, but as an impending catastrophe that could plunge Konoha into chaos, and well, more people would die. Right? It was a numbers game for Itachi here. There was way less Uchihas and way more of those guys, but the Uchiha are very powerful. If the Uchihas attack, thousands and thousands of innocents will die. The weight of this knowledge, combined with his loyalty to both his clan and his village, placed him in an unbearable position. When the village elders presented him with an ultimatum to slaughter his own clan or watch as Konoha descended into civil war, Itachi faced an impossible decision. He chose, of course, the path of the Ambu. In his mind, he thought that this would result in the least amount of bloodshed. If it meant staining his own hands with the blood of his family, his decision to massacre the Uchiha was not born of hatred or malice, but rather of a tortured sense of duty. In the end, his choice was a sacrifice of the highest order, the eradication of his own clan, the clan that he loved and wanted to preserve, and all because he wanted to preserve the peace that he valued above all else. But even in the midst of this terrible act, Itachi's emotions betrayed him. His love for his younger brother Sasuke was overwhelming. The one pure bond in his life overpowered his commitment to the mission. Sparing Sasuke was both an act of mercy and a form of self-punishment. Itachi deliberately set the stage for Sasuke's revenge, planting the seeds of hatred in his brother to ensure that he would one day grow strong enough to kill him. In fact, he kept himself alive through medicine only for that fateful day. And perhaps that sickness was caused by the mental trauma of the acts that he had done that day, because it was shortly after, when he joined the Akatsuki, that he essentially got sick and started dying. And we know that trauma causes sickness and death, right? In doing so, Itachi created a cycle of trauma and suffering that would shape both of their lives. Itachi's mental state during the massacre is a study in contradiction. On one hand, he operated with cold precision, carrying out his mission with a sense of ruthless efficiency. On the other hand, his heart was breaking with every life he took. The inner turmoil he experiences reflected in the pain that lingers in his eyes, his constant guilt, and the weariness that haunts him. And remember, the girl that he was friends with, he actually gave her a sweet dream, right? The whole lives lived peacefully, marriage, everything, her dreams come true. And in that, she died. Now, he carried the weight of his clan's debt on his shoulders, isolating himself from those he once loved, bearing the label of traitor for the sake of a greater good. And of course, Konoha bore the fruits of this, right? And still talked strangely about the Uchiha. Still, there was no really love gained for the Uchiha. This emotional and psychological burden defined Itachi for the rest of his life. Every step he took after the massacre was marked by sorrow and self-loathing. He joined the Akatsuki, a group that would allow him to continue playing the villain, further distancing himself from the truth of his motives. But behind this facade lay the deep anguish of a man who had sacrificed everything, including his own humanity to a degree for a peace that came at too high of a cost. What would you do if you were presented with the choice of killing the whole world or in saving your family, or killing your family and saving the world? What would you do? It's a decision I've thought about personally, just hypothetically. And it's a difficult one, right? Because at first you think, save my goddamn family, but then you think, but that's the rest of the world. That's other people's families. That's this, that's that. And you begin to weigh it, and it becomes a very intriguing mental concept of mental I don't want to say training, but like self-questioning, right? And you can come out with very unique conclusions. The trauma as to why you would choose make a decision, that is. The trauma of his decision not only affected him, but also it irrevocably damaged Sasuke by forcing Sasuke to witness the slaughter of their parents and manipulating him into a path of vengeance. Itachi condemned his brother to a life filled with hatred and confusion. Sasuke's psychological scars born from the trauma of that night shaped his entire journey. You see, Sasuke idolized his brother. That was his hero. That's who he wanted to be. But then to have that image completely shattered and battered and spat on and thrown into the waste bin itself, leaving him consumed by desire for only revenge. Itachi's attempt to spare Sasuke physically resulted in the emotional and mental destruction of his little brother. As the story unfolded, Itachi's true motivations revealed itself, and the depth of his suffering became even clearer. The massacre was never something he wanted. It was a burden he chose to bear for the sake of a village that ultimately wasn't really grateful, a sacrifice no one else would have made. Yet, in his effort to protect Sasuke, he unintentionally condemned his brother to the very thing he sought to prevent: endless suffering. Instead of, this chaotic bloodshed for the village, he burdened it upon himself and his brother. The bond between the brothers, fractured by violence and manipulation, became a mirror for Itachi's own inner turmoil. You see, in the end, Itachi's story is one of profound tragedy. He's a character who embodies the pain of choosing between two unbearable options and the lifelong consequences of that choice. His love for Sasuke was both his salvation and his curse, driving him to make impossible decisions that left him broken. His actions saved the village, but they destroyed his family, and in too many ways, they destroyed his brother and himself. Itachi's role in Naruto serves as a testament to the complexities of duty, right? Loyalty and love. He was not a man without emotions, but one who felt too deeply, who understood too much, and who was willing to sacrifice everything to protect the world from the horrors he had already seen. Trauma he inflicted on Sasuke mirrored the trauma he carried within, creating a cycle of pain that would haunt them both until the very end. Sasuke is still a traumatized man, finding it very difficult to maintain emotional relationships. If not for Sakura's relentlessness, Sasuke would be alone and the Uchiha clan would be dead and no more. And perhaps Sasuke almost thought that that was necessary, because after all, his clan is just marred in blood and chaos and rage and vengeance. Though eyes operated only out of anger and out of trauma. But why? And that is why Sarada is the hero that she had needed, the one that would change the legacy of anger and rage in Konoha and the Uchiha name. It's been your boy Supreme Jigga. Make sure you leave a comment, subscribe, I'm out.